Uh, Again, I'm Ryan Dyer, Recycle Program Manager for Salt Lake County. My industry experience is 13 years with 9 years in recycling. And I supervise a program that has one program supervisor, quality recycle coordinator, 2 quality assurance inspectors, and 20 drivers. And then we started as a subscription-based program in 2003. We had a 21% participation rate, and then in 2007 we went district-wide as part of the service package. And again, we went from 2 employees to 25 employees, and from a bi-weekly collection on a subscription base to weekly collections, and that we just underwent that in September of last year. Presently we're serving about a little over 80,000 homes. The district was established in 1977, and our mission statement is to provide sustainable integrated waste collections and recycling collection services for the health and safety of our community, of course, because not everything fits in the can. Hopefully what you get from this is you'll understand why we transitioned from bi-weekly to weekly collections, and what we discovered about the waste stream, and then see where we're going to go from here. In 2009, this is the why. In 2009, we did a customer satisfaction survey, and 96% of the respondents said that they felt recycling was important, but only 41% felt they could benefit from a weekly program. Wasn't enough to jump right into weekly, but it was certainly enough to look into it and ask the question, should we be looking at weekly programs? So we did a follow-up survey in 2011 asking the same question, is it important and could you benefit? And we saw similar response on the importance of recycling, but the benefits of going weekly jumped a great deal. So during that time, we also did some studies to see what the waste stream looked like, to see if not only do the customers want it, but is it valid? So in the summer of 2010, we did a series of waste audits, and from those waste audits, we found about 40% of of recycling in the waste stream. And I'm going to go ahead and, this is going to be a challenge for me. It's kind of hard for you to hear me. We do have a couple videos. I'll show one video right here on the waste audit.
In December of 2009, we conducted a customer satisfaction survey. Nearly all of the respondents felt that recycling was important, with almost half of them requesting a weekly recycle program. Due to the cost of weekly recycling, we needed to do some research to determine if the need was really there. We wanted to really know what was in that black can doors that we're putting out on the curbs every week. We selected 2 areas with very different recycling rates. We then collected their trash curbside as we do every week, but this time we dumped it on a cement pad and we began sorting.
Well, waste audit is sort of a representative sample of the waste that is collected from residents. And in that audit, we determine what people are actually throwing away. What is in the waste stream?
We've actually taken a 100% trash load to see what kind of recycling material we could get out of it and recover.
So if we look more closely at what people are throwing away,
separating it when they're throwing away?
We at the landfill have figured that between 60 and 70% of what's in our landfill could have been recycled. And that's mostly based on the EPA estimates of the percentage of recyclables in the waste stream. So that would be things like paper, plastic, cardboard, aluminum, steel, all of those kinds of things that are being collected and weighed here. So this will kind of give us a view of what we do compared to what's done nationally, and if we're sort of in line or if we're out of line a little bit.
Hopefully the camera's catching how much we're getting, because that's just, and all of that's going into a landfill.
After the sorting was completed, we weighed and measured each category. Using these values, we were able to determine how much recycling was in the landfill.
This gives us an opportunity to see if there are educational opportunities that we've missed, if there are educational opportunities that are needed, and to find out maybe there are some issues that we haven't thought of yet.
Hopefully that will show the public, how much is actually going to the landfill that doesn't really need to be going there, If you could knock the recycling portion out of this, you'd have years and years to the landfill. It really would.
In the end, we still estimate that about 60% of what goes into the landfill could have been recycled.
Metals, aluminum, plastics, all of it's recyclable, 100%. A lot more could be done.
If possible, I'd like to see more people recycling and saving, our landfills and our environment.
And it's just sad that it's all going in there, people just don't know. They really don't.
After conducting this waste audit, we found approximately 40% of the trash that was in the waste stream is recycled materials. The potential benefits of collecting weekly recycling lies within that 40%. Some of the highest content was aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and mixed paper. These materials are accepted in all of the recycle programs in this area, and in fact, they are valuable commodities. Our next step is to do a second waste audit in January. This will allow us to measure recyclables against non-recyclables without having that green waste mixed in.
And I think that if we put the education out there for people, we can fix that problem.
There's a better place for this than the waste stream. Absolutely.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think it's powerful stuff there. I am rushing through this because I was informed as I walked up here I'm on a time limit. Here we go. Had to find my place. Anyway, one of the things that we did recognize right away with that waste audit was the green waste. So we knew we needed to do it again. But what our results were on the 2010 waste audit, there was 3% glass in the waste stream, and these are by weight. 15% recyclables, 39% green waste, and 43% garbage. But as we know, what really impacts the landfill isn't so much the weight, it's the volumes. And the volumes really caught our eye, because now we had 3% glass. The volume of glass was about the same as the weight, but 35% of that was recyclables, and 33% green waste and 29% garbage. So what we saw was our waste stream by volume was more recyclables than garbage. There's, for those of you like Pam who needs charts, there's your charts. And you can see that when you have that much by volume in the waste stream, let's focus our attention on getting it out. Then we did the January audit, because we knew there was a lot of green waste in there. So we thought we'd do another audit in January and see what the impact or what the makeup is without that green waste. And bear with me one more time. This one's a little catchier.
The importance of the waste audit is we've always done a great job of auditing recycling loads and finding out how much trash is in the recycling. Well, now we want to see how much recycling is in the trash.
We wanted to find out what was happening in the waste stream. And from the homes that we collect, we wanted to see, well, we do a bi-weekly recycle collection. So we wanted to see if our recycling was effective or not, or if we could actually increase the weekly.
As you can see, we've got a lot of recyclables in this garbage pile here, but so much of it we won't be able to pull out because it's been contaminated from the waste stream.
You know, unfortunately, when it's mixed in with the waste, they're all going to be thrown out. We focus on just recycling in a recycling mode. These test sorts have been an opportunity to see how much recyclable potential is in the waste.
This pile over here has a lot of recyclables that came in on a recycle truck where it wasn't commingled with trash. And this is all reclaimable. Pretty much, I'd say probably about 96, 97% of this will be recovered. Whereas the recyclables in here, in this pile, will probably only be able to recover about 30 to 40% of the recyclables, where another 60 to 70% of the recyclables will be thrown away because they are contaminated.
And we did a waste audit in late June, early July, summer months. We saw, the effects of green waste in that waste stream. What does season do to the waste stream? We have no green waste that I'm aware of, or very minimal, in this particular audit. So I think the seasonality will show us that.
3 R's are a big one for this industry. It's recycle, reuse, and reduce. And it's what we've seen on day 2 of the waste audit here. We've seen a lot of kids' clothes, adults' clothes, shoes, toys, things that have got a lot of life left in them. And it's just sad to think of that getting thrown away when there's a lot of people that could use it. So that second R is a real big one.
When we start talking about weights and volumes for recyclables versus trash, recyclables tend to be the lighter materials, so it takes so much more volume to make a ton of recyclables. On average, the mix of recyclables that we collect, on average, it's about 15 and a half cubic yards per ton, whereas garbage is generally about 6 cubic yards per ton, and sometimes even less depending on what we have in the waste stream.
The number one most recyclable thing out of a general household is paper. Your junk mail, catalogs, magazines, phone books, all of those types of things. That consists of the majority, the biggest component of the curbside recycling. Second most common is cardboard. Your carrier stock that your soda comes in, diaper boxes, cereal boxes with the liner taken out. Those things are the 2 most common, consisting of about 65 to 70% between just those 2.
There's so much more recyclables going into the waste stream as compared to volumes of trash. And if we can get that volume out, volume is what impacts the landfill. If we can get that volume of recyclables out of the waste stream, it will save a lot of landfill space. And plus, they are valuable commodities where we can generate some revenue off of it.
We're running out of space in landfills and in Utah.
Anything we divert out of the landfill will just save that many more years in the life of the landfill so that we don't have to fill that up. And we can take this product that's all reusable, turn it into new products, and get it back into the hands of the consumer.
From these waste audits, well, we are learning a lot as far as what is in our waste stream. What I'd like to see happen is to show the need, the necessity to open up the recycle program a little bit and provide a larger avenue to recycle, and combined with that, do some education programs to encourage more recycling.
This is a great way to gauge how the participants of the program are doing.
One of the other things we did learn was it's cold in January. We thought we knew that already until we did that.
As part of my internship, I'm working with USF Dining to help
That's not us, is it?
USF Dining or become more environmentally sustainable. Today actually Campus Sustainability Day, so we are honoring that by weighing people's food waste when they come to their place. We wanted to raise awareness of food waste and how much you actually waste, and make them see that, on the scale. It's like a slice of how much waste you produce, basically. The information is valuable in that it could be used if we're trying to implement like composting, the post-consumer waste.
How about I just do that? Looks like I lost my PowerPoint. Sorry, Debbie, you don't have time. Well, before I go too much further, I do want to, express our thanks to Rocky Mountain. That last clip in that video, Rocky Mountain partnered with us to do those waste audits, and they actually provided the facility and the labor for that. The results of the January audit, though, was 31% recyclables and 4% glass, 1% green waste, which we kind of expected, and then 64% garbage. But again, what that does with the volumes was it did paint a completely different picture. The volumes was 57% recyclables in the waste stream, and 4% glass, 3% green waste, and 36% garbage. And there's your charts, your pie charts, Pam. So in conclusion there, the results of both the customer satisfaction survey and the waste audits, we recommended that we increase recycle collection from biweekly to weekly, and then we continue to educate residents on the importance of recycling and then how to reduce. So we do have some plans for our next steps. That's the education. We've done a couple pilot programs, if it allows me to get to them. It's working. If I knew how to use it, it'd work a little better. Anyway, we put this sticker on the inside of 3,000 can lids on the garbage can, and then what we saw from that was an 8% return. We had an 8% increase in those 3,000 homes on recycling, and then we also just went out and stapled these flyers, just a do's and don'ts flyer on 3,000 can lids in a different area, and we saw a 5% increase in those areas. So we knew that there was material in the waste stream. We knew that the residents wanted more, wanted us to open up that avenue. And then we saw that given with some education programs, we'll actually see some success in getting some of that material out of the waste stream. We also did some open houses, a series of open houses, and to educate people on the change from biweekly to weekly collections. And then some of the topics we covered was recycling education, and we covered topics on our other programs that we offer, like the fall leaf bag program, the area cleanup, and the trailer programs. And then we had some interactive displays for the kids and for the adults. We showed those DVD films, and we had open discussions on recycling and trying to educate people on increasing their recycling efforts. Here's just some pictures of those events. And we've also been in some local schools. Again, this is one of those slides Hollis set up that comes on slow. Makes me a little impatient. Anyway, we've done some education events in the schools in the Granite School District, Jordan, and the Canyon School Districts. And we have ongoing education programs scheduled for schools. We've also scheduled a booth at the Scoutorama and on May 5th. And we'll be partnering with the Scouts to get some more education out there, get some literature out there to the residents. And that's it.
So Salt Lake City has a zero waste goal, and we adopted that last November. The City Council and the Mayor adopted the zero waste resolution, and it states our goals. We've had a goal to recycle or divert 50% of our waste for quite a while. It was all just sort of talk, and we kept talking about it. So we finally adopted a resolution. I have the advantage of working in a very unique community where I can't run fast enough, I can't jump high enough, I can't leap enough tall buildings, and everybody's always asking me, when are we going to recycle this, and why can't we recycle this, and when can you start doing this? So I have a lot of support in implementing programs. So part of this zero waste resolution also is that it directs our staff to develop the strategic plan to reach these goals. So the first part of our strategic plan is to study what's in our waste stream. We have always done estimates based on the EPA waste characterization. We wanted to see if that was true to Salt Lake City's waste. So we embarked on a one-year study. We hired a consultant to come in and do a few exercises with us to look at what is in our waste stream. They did some waste sorting activities at the landfill where they looked at our waste collection trucks and what was coming out of those. They looked at a lot of data on demographics in Salt Lake City, the number of businesses, and things like that. The last part of the study, this is not a completed project. I'm waiting for, we'll get the final report in the next month or so. But the last part of the project is to provide some recommendations to Salt Lake City on how we reached our goals. So they, like I mentioned, they looked at the residential waste stream, what the city was collecting, what residents were taking to drop-off centers and to the citizen unloading facility at the landfill. They had great cooperation from all of our haulers, from Waste Management, from Allied Waste, from ACE Disposal, and they were very helpful in helping us determine what was going on with the commercial waste stream as well. On our single-family residential, this is city hauled, so we have the most information about this. But we have about 45,000 homes that we service, and our waste stream from residences is 80,000 tons per year. Our weekly services, we provide those every week, year-round, and we have a couple of special services as well with bulky waste, leaves, and Christmas trees. So far this year, starting in July, we have diverted, either through recycling or composting, 37% of Salt Lake City's residential waste stream. And the tonnage figures are there, but we're still sending 63% of our waste to the landfill. A little background on our multifamily residential. These are, the waste services are provided by all of our privately owned trash haulers, but they make up 40% of all the housing units in Salt Lake City, and many of them don't have access to recycling. And the estimated waste stream from that is between 20 and 30,000 tons per year. We have about 11,000 businesses in Salt Lake, and again, they are serviced by the private haulers. The study has an average of, well, ranges between 70 and 170,000 tons per year. We think it's right in the ballpark of 110 and 120,000 tons per year just in Salt Lake City proper, and we think our waste haulers agree with that. We've had some conversations with them, and they think that's about what it is. And we're doing some estimates on what we think the commercial recycling rate is, and we think it's around 5 to 15%. So the commercial waste stream makes up a large part of our community's waste stream, and it wouldn't be, in looking at our zero waste goal, it applies to our entire community. So we're not going to reach our zero waste goals by ignoring what's going on in the business sector. So can anybody guess what the biggest thing that's going to the landfill in our trash cans is? Guess? Paper? Cardboard? I talked to you earlier, so you already knew the answer. It's food waste. That is the biggest portion of our waste stream right now. If you apply the math on what we think our waste stream is and the total tonnage that we're sending to the landfill, that's about 11,000 tons per year of food going into our landfill that could be composted. The next one is paper. 10,000 tons a year going into the landfill, recyclable paper. And we have a curbside program that is 15 years old. Plastic is the next, metal. And I feel pretty good about this because we have a curbside yard waste program, and the EPA estimates about 20 to 25% of the waste stream is yard waste, and we're capturing a large portion of that. And then glass is about 5% of the waste stream. And the other thing that we're proud of is that with our partnership with Salt Lake County Health Department, very little household hazardous waste is going to the landfill in residential trash cans. What's going in our blue bin? Well, we are recovering 75% of the waste of the cardboard generated from our households. So they are recycling their cardboard. We're recovering about half of the plastic, about a third of the aluminum, and less than a quarter of the tin or steel food cans that's being generated. At the citizen unloading facility at the landfill, people are dropping off lumber. Other mixed organics are things like carpeting, and some tree waste and things like that. And then we have building materials. In our bulky waste program, our neighborhood cleanup program, people are throwing out lumber, building materials. We're doing a pretty good job of separating and diverting out the yard waste that people put out, the large limbs and brush. So what do you think the number one thing that's getting landfilled from commercial dumpsters? I guess, anybody? Paper. Our businesses are throwing away their paper. And then food. So this is exactly opposite of the residential. And then plastic. So our, the next step is our consultant has developed a list of about 25 things that they sent me and said, these are the recommendations that we're going to explore a little bit further, and we refined that list a little bit. But they're looking at our outreach, what we're doing for outreach in the community, whether it be special events or the brochures, going into schools, and making some recommendations on how we could improve our outreach. We have a variable rate structure in Salt Lake where we have 3 sizes of garbage cans, and you pay less for the smaller can. They're looking at our rate structure and making some recommendations on how that should be in order to encourage more waste diversion. Food scraps. This is probably, and this is the first time I say it publicly, but this is the #1 priority for Salt Lake City right now, is to get food scrap recycling in the state. They are doing it in other places. This is the largest portion of our waste stream, and it has very valuable nutrients that we can return to our soils and encourage more farming and growing vegetables in our own gardens instead of importing our vegetables from Mexico. Some communities are going to, once you get the food scraps and the stinky stuff out of your garbage can and get it into the yard waste can, your garbage stinks less, and you could perhaps go to every other week collection. And some communities are doing this now. So we want to get more information on who's doing it, what are the hurdles, and how are they getting past those. It's very clear to us that we need to restructure our bulky waste program. It's very inefficient. Years ago, 10, 15 years ago, we were collecting 27,000 tons a year through our bulky waste program. This year, we'll collect probably less than 6,000 tons. We haven't made significant changes to that program. We've cut back on crews that we send out, but it became very clear to us that we need to take another look at that and how we provide that service. Enforcement. Right now in Salt Lake, we do have a crew of people who go out every day, and they're out in the field looking in cans and giving reminders to our residents on mistakes they make with their recycling and yard waste containers. Some communities are issuing fines. We're not doing that in Salt Lake right now, but we'd like to know, who's doing that, what are the impacts, what does it really affect behavior. This is probably the number 1.5 priority for Salt Lake City, is to improve the commercial recycling in our city, including the multifamily. And this is a great opportunity for us to partner with our stakeholders, with our haulers and our property managers and our residents to improve recycling in that sector. And we can't reach our goal without addressing that issue. On construction and demolition waste, right now we have in the works a draft ordinance requiring all construction projects to recycle 55% of their waste. And at the beginning of the project, we require a waste management plan to identify what they're going to recycle and where they're taking it. And at the end, before a certificate of occupancy is issued, we'll require a report and backup documentation showing that happened. So that's in draft right now. It's been favorably recommended by our planning commission, and we'll take it to the city council this year. And the other thing that is in the works is an ordinance requiring that new buildings or significant remodels plan for space for recycling containers. We require space for garbage containers in all new buildings and significant remodels. We are adding the requirement for recycling containers. So those are a few of the recommendations. Like I said, we expect this report to come back to the city in the next month or so, and we will make it public on our website so everybody can look at it. And we'll have a little bit more concrete numbers on tonnage and things like that. So our website is slcgreen.com, and I would encourage you to visit our website to get more information. Thanks. Questions? Not you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she's asking about our glass drop-off sites in the city, and we increased from 3 to 20 sites in the last year or two, and she's asking if we're glad we did that. Yes, we are. Some of our sites, immediately when we put them in, they were overflowing. And so they are very popular. We have increased the tonnage in what we're collecting. It doesn't come without headaches and things that you have to work out, but yes, it's a very popular program for our residents. Other questions? All right, Bridget?
Bridget asked if when we were doing our waste audit, did we get we see how much of the waste was food waste? And no, we didn't measure food waste particularly. We lumped it up with the green waste. So and just overall garbage. You want me to start? For us, we wanted to know. We had about half of our residents were saying they wanted us to increase the recycle program. They wanted it to go weekly, and we needed to know what was in the waste stream. So we needed to know, but in addition to that, we also needed to know because we needed to go to the council and say, this is why we want to move forward with weekly. So there was several reasons. I don't know. Did you have more?
Yeah, I think our main audience is probably our elected officials and educating ourselves on where we could get the next biggest bang for our buck, and developing recommendations where we need to improve our infrastructure to reach our goals.
Well, actually, when we first had the idea to do the waste audit, we had a lot of support, and the first waste audit we did, we had some volunteers. We approached Rocky Mountain and said, this is what we want to do. Can we do this? And they were very receptive of it. They said, yeah, let's do this. And I'm not calling Rocky Mountain out on this. They did the right thing. The second waste audit, they said, leave your volunteers at home. We know what we're doing. Let's just do it. And so they actually provided all the resources to do it. We didn't have a problem getting support for that. It's actually something that'll, well, it was something that everybody in the community in this industry really wanted to know what was in the waste stream, you know. And I'm not saying our waste stream is going to be exactly the same as, you know, that 30 miles south of us, but it's going to be close.
We had to do some, you know, with our commercial audit, looking at the commercial waste stream. It was really important to us to get the cooperation of all the haulers that were doing business in Salt Lake. And so we had to, you know, we had to work with developing those relationships and making sure that, you know, their information was protected, but I think they have a vested interest in knowing what's going on with the commercial waste stream as a whole as well. So just making sure that you're open and transparent and providing the information back to them that will give them useful information for their business is helpful, I think. Yes. I think it's going to entail engaging with all of the stakeholders, with our haulers, with our businesses, with our property managers, and coming together under the, you know, we have a main goal of just increasing diversion to the highest and best use, and listening to their ideas on how we can reach that. And I think it's going to be a process of listening to them, coming back with tangible solutions, whether it be requirements or, you know, things that would affect everybody equally. But I think there's going to be a process and where we get a lot of feedback. He was asking about C&D waste in our ordinance, and that's it's a local ordinance, not a statewide, so it only applies in Salt Lake City. But we have not gotten a lot of negative feedback about that. And part of that process, we went out to developers, we went out to our property managers, we went out and we did meetings and met with people and listened to their comments. And We did not come back with an ordinance that was exactly the same as when we started. We got a lot of feedback and comments. But my understanding of the C&D waste and what's happening already, I don't think that the 55% diversion rate is that hard to meet, especially if you're taking out asphalt and concrete and things like that. That's getting recycled. There's a market for it. It's cheaper to recycle than to landfill, so I think it's a pretty reasonable requirement. Oh, I don't know anything about that. Oh. Yeah, I've seen other communities do that. We did not consider that. We just didn't consider that. Kate? She asked if we would consider a mandate to require all businesses to recycle, and I think that's not out of the question. But, you know, applying that fairly so that when you put a mandate in, you have to have a way to enforce it and to make sure it's happening. So, you know, you have to implement it in a way that you can enforce and keep track of what's going on. Like I said, we had 11,000 business licenses. To make sure that every one of those businesses is recycling is a big job. But there are, I mean, other communities do sort of, you know, mandating that businesses over X number of employees have recycling programs. Or if your waste stream is more than X% paper, you have to recycle it. Or you have to, you know, every business has to recycle their paper and cardboard. And, you know, so there are different ways that mandates are done. So that's not off the table. It's not out of the question.